Hello everybody, welcome to the ICSR series, the most demanded and awaited video for all the freshers and experienced people who are looking to improve their knowledge and trying to crack the interviews. I have received numerous requests from so many candidates and I have put in all the efforts to make it as simple as possible and easy to understand the concepts. The ICSR case processing is very important, which makes the foundation and also the entry point in the drug safety and pharmacovigilance domain. If you understand and master this process very well, you will be able to advance and shape your career into aggregate reporting and so on. The ICSR case processing provides great potential and immense opportunities for freshers to start their career because most of the big pharmaceutical companies and biotech companies generally outsource this activity, as these projects usually require huge resources to deal with large volumes of work. And also, many organizations have to deal with the challenges of quality and productivity, mainly due to the lack of proper training and concepts being not clear. So let's see in detail what is pharmacovigilance, definitions and terminologies used, and where do we get the data, how it is collected, documented, processed and then reported to the regulatory authorities. What are the tools and the safety databases used? As many of you already know by now, my main focus is always on the practical aspects rather than just learning some theory part. My intention is to give you tons of information on all my videos. I think that I have covered a lot of important topics on my videos, which I feel is more than sufficient for you to ace the interviews. Please watch all my videos till the end to get a proper and thorough understanding, and comment if you come across any questions. Also, at the end of each video, I have included a small mock interview session where I will be asking you the questions and you can try to answer, which will help you practice your flow and improve your speaking skills. One more very important thing, if you are still in college or pursuing any of the streams in medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, PhD or any other life sciences degree and not sure of practicing and would like to know more about the career path and options in the pharma industry, and you are in need of guidance, you can ask your college authorities or the concerned person to contact us by email or send an invite for a session to talk on pharmacovigilance and clinical research and the opportunities in the industry. Of course, the session will be entirely free and I will be happy to see you all and talk about in length about pharmacovigilance and clinical research. I hope you will enjoy all my videos. Sources and collection of individual case safety reports. Please watch my previous videos made on drug discovery and development process, definitions used in pharmacovigilance and the criteria for an ICSR, and give a like if this video was helpful to you. I'll be making a lot of informative videos, so subscribe to get notified. It will also motivate me to make more videos like these. The reference document is Guideline on Good Pharmacovigilance Practices Module 6 that includes collection, management and submission of reports of suspected adverse reactions to medicinal product. Let's see in detail collection of individual safety reports. Competent authorities and marketing authorization holders should take appropriate measures to collect and collate all reports of suspected adverse reactions associated with medicinal products for human use originating from unsolicited or solicited sources. For this purpose, a pharmacovigilance system should be developed to allow the acquisition of sufficient information for the scientific evaluation of those reports. The system should be designed so that it helps to ensure that the collected reports are authentic, legible, accurate, consistent, verifiable, and as complete as possible for their clinical assessment. This video is extremely important, especially for freshers. Whenever you are attending the interviews, they will ask you this very common question, that is, tell me about solicited and unsolicited reports, and they will also ask you about ICSR validation criteria. So please watch this video till the end, and I will explain you what is unsolicited and solicited in the upcoming slides. All notifications that contain pharmacovigilance data should be recorded and archived in compliance with the applicable data protection requirements. The system should also be structured in a way that allows for reports of suspected adverse reactions to be validated in a timely manner and exchanged between competent authorities and marketing authorization holders within the legal submission time frame. In accordance with the ICH E2D guidelines, two types of safety reports are distinguished in the post-authorization phase: reports originating from unsolicited sources and those reported as solicited. This slide is very important. Please have a look, good look actually. So we have unsolicited reports and we have solicited reports. Now what is the meaning of solicited and what is unsolicited? Solicited reports are those which are derived from organized data collection systems. Unsolicited are those which are not derived from the organized data collections. So you can remember this as solicited is equal to organized, unsolicited is unorganized. So please remember this. Under unsolicited reports, we have spontaneous reports, literature reports, reports from non-medical sources, information on suspected adverse reactions from the internet or digital media. So these are all coming under unsolicited. So under solicited, we have clinical trials, non-interventional studies, registries, post-approval named patient use programs, other patient support and disease management programs, surveys on patients or healthcare professionals, compassionate use or name patient use, or information gathering on efficacy or patient compliance. So we will look at unsolicited reports one by one in the next upcoming slide. Now is the spontaneous reports. A spontaneous report is an unsolicited communication by a healthcare professional or consumer to a competent authority, marketing authorization holder, or other organization, for example, regional pharmacovigilance center or poison control center, that describes one or more suspected adverse reactions in a patient who was given one or more medicinal products. It does not derive from a study or any organized data collection systems. The following situations should be considered as spontaneous reports if it is a stimulated reporting that occurs consequent to a direct healthcare professional communication, publication in the press, questioning of healthcare professionals by company representatives, communication from patients' organizations to their members, or class action lawsuit, unsolicited consumer adverse reactions reports irrespective of any subsequent medical confirmation. Reports of suspected adverse reactions which are not related to any organized data collection systems and which are notified through medical inquiry or product information services, or which are consequent of the distribution of information or educational materials. Unsolicited reports of suspected adverse reactions collected from the internet or digital media. Any individual case notified by different reporters and at least one notification is done spontaneously. Reports of suspected adverse reactions from non-interventional post-authorization studies related to specified adverse events for which the protocol does not require their systematic collection, reports of suspected adverse reactions from compassionate use or named patient use conducted in countries where the systematic collection of adverse events in these programs is not required. That was about the spontaneous report. The second unsolicited is the literature report. The medical literature is a significant source of information for the monitoring of the safety profile and of the risk-benefit balance of medicinal products, particularly in relation to the detection of new safety signals or emerging safety issues. The marketing authorization holders are therefore expected to maintain awareness of possible publications through a systematic literature review of widely used reference databases. For example, Medline, Excerpta Medica or Embase. We also have other databases like PubMed, no less frequently than once a week. This is very important. Every marketing authorization holder, they need to do this literature review once a week at least. The marketing authorization holder should ensure that the literature review includes the use of reference databases that contain the largest references of articles in relation to the medicinal product properties. In addition, marketing authorization holders should have procedures in place to monitor scientific and medical publications in local journals in countries where medicinal products have a marketing authorization and to bring them to the attention of companies' safety department as appropriate. Reports of suspected adverse reactions from the medical literature, including relevant published abstracts from meetings and draft manuscripts, should also be reviewed and assessed by the marketing authorization holders to identify and record ICSRs. If multiple medicinal products are mentioned in the publication, only those which are identified by the publication's author as having at least a possible causal relationship with the suspected adverse reaction should be considered for literature review by the concerned marketing authorization holder. One case should be created for each single identifiable patient. Relevant medical information should be recorded and the first publication author or the corresponding author, if designated, should be considered as the primary source of information. Details about the co-authors do not need to be documented among the primary sources of information. EU requirements concerning the active substances and the scientific and medical publications not monitored by the agency and for which valid ICSRs shall be submitted to the Pharmacovigilance database by marketing authorization holders or provided in the medical literature monitoring guidance. Exclusion criteria in relation to the submission in the EU of ICSRs published in the literature are also detailed in the medical literature monitoring guidance. So please watch my video on medical literature monitoring, which I have already made. So you will get an understanding of what is the agency monitoring and what are the responsibilities of the MAH and how they need to monitor the ICSRs and then report it to the regulatory authorities. Coming to the reports from non-medical sources. If a marketing authorization holder becomes aware of a report of suspected adverse reactions originating from a non-medical source, for example, the lay press or other media, it should be managed as a spontaneous report. Every attempt should be made to follow up the case to obtain the minimum information that constitutes a valid ICSR. Again, please watch my video, the previous video which I have made it on validation of ICSR. We need 4 minimum criteria to be a valid ICSR. Please watch it if you have not watched already. With regard to the submission of those ICSRs, the same modalities and time frames should be applied as for the other spontaneous reports. Now Information on suspected adverse reactions from the internet or digital media. In line with the ICH E2D guidelines, marketing authorization holders should regularly screen the internet or digital media under their management or responsibility for potential reports of suspected adverse reactions. With respect to this, a digital medium is considered to be company sponsored if it is owned, paid for, or controlled by the marketing authorization holder. The frequency of the screening should allow for potential valid ICSRs to be submitted to the competent authorities within the appropriate regulatory submission timeframes based on the date the information was posted on the internet site or digital medium. The marketing authorization holders may also consider utilizing their website to facilitate the collection of reports of suspected adverse reactions. If a marketing authorization holder becomes aware of a report of suspected adverse reaction described in any non-company sponsored digital medium, the report should be assessed to determine whether it qualifies for submission as an ICSR. Unsolicited cases of suspected adverse reactions from the internet or digital media should be handled as spontaneous reports. The same submission timeframes as for spontaneous reports should be applied. Regarding the timeframes, I will be making another video where you will be knowing what are the timeframes for fatal, life-threatening, serious SUSARs and all the reporting timeframes. In relation to cases from the internet or digital media, the identifiability of the reporter refers to the possibility of verification of the existence of a real person based on the information available. For example, an email address under a valid format has been provided. If the country of the primary source is missing, the country where the information was received or where the review took place should be used as a primary source country. Now, these were all about the unsolicited reports. We will see what is a solicited report. As defined in the ICH E2D guidelines, Annex 4, solicited reports of suspected adverse reactions are those derived from organized data collections systems, which include clinical trials, non-interventional studies, registries, post-approval named patient use programs, other patient support and disease management programs, surveys of patients or healthcare professionals, compassionate use or named patient use, or information gathering on efficacy or patient compliance. Reports of suspected adverse reactions obtained from any of these data collection systems should not be considered spontaneous. This is with the exception of reports of suspected adverse reactions from non-interventional post-authorization studies related to specified adverse events for which the protocol does not require their systematic collection. Reports of suspected adverse reactions from compassionate use or named patient use conducted in countries where the systematic collection of adverse events in these programs is not required. So if you want to know more about what is a compassionate use or named patient use, please see the guidelines. You can Google or find it on EMA website. So the guidelines are separate for this compassionate use. So please go through it if you are interested. With regard to the submission as ICSRs, solicited reports should be classified as study reports. They should have an appropriate causality assessment to consider whether they refer to suspected adverse reactions and therefore meet the minimum validation criteria. And as usual, valid ICSRs should be submitted in line with the timeframes mentioned in the guidelines. So just to give the overall summary, we have unsolicited and solicited reports. Under unsolicited reports, we have spontaneous, literature, reports from medical, non-medical sources, and from internet or digital media. We have clinical trials, non-interventional registries, Post-approval compassionate use patient name programs under Solicited. Marketing authorization holders are expected to use systematic literature review of widely used reference databases, for example Medline, Embase, PubMed or Accepta Medica, no less frequently than once a week. If a marketing authorization holder becomes aware of a report of suspected adverse reactions originating from a non-medical source, for example lay press or other media, it should be managed as a spontaneous report. Unsolicited cases of suspected adverse reactions from the internet or digital media should be handled as a spontaneous report. All the ICSRs are checked for validity, and if any criteria is missing, follow-up must be done. All valid ICSRs shall be submitted to the Vigilance database by the marketing authorization holders within the time frame as applicable. This is about the overall summary of the collection and sources and collection of the safety reports. So time for interview questions. So what are the sources of ICSRs? What is a solicited report? Can you give me an example? What is an unsolicited report? Give an example. What is a spontaneous report? What is a literature report? Name some literature databases. And what is the frequency of literature review? So these are the very common questions asked in the freshers interview as well as for the experienced people also. So be well prepared with solicited and unsolicited. At least you should be able to tell two reports under each category. Many of you are not aware, and most of you approached me on LinkedIn, Facebook and Twitter asking for a mock report writing experience on signal detection and management. So this is how I came with this plan. I have introduced this interactive and intense training program for 1 month, which is conducted over 4 weekends. This will be entirely a hands-on program, and all the documents, relevant documents pertaining to the report will be sent to you by email in advance. You will be learning drafting of each and every section of the report along with me under my guidance and instructions. So this training program is scheduled once in 3 months. So here are the contents of the training program. If you or your friends or colleagues are interested to attend a session, they can register by logging onto our website www.globalplacosolutions.com. Under Contact Us, there is a registration option, and once you register, you will receive all the details about our upcoming training sessions by email. I hope that the video was informative, and I am very confident that this will definitely help freshers ace the interview. Please share this video with your friends and colleagues and subscribe to watch my future videos. Thank you very much for watching and good luck.